Good to meet you.
Hear a voice.
Guys, you too, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for being here.
Great to be here. So, I'm not sure where to start. Where should
I
I start?
understand. You and I have been writing back and forth
Yeah.
On Discord. It started this morning. So for everybody who hasn't been on Discord and who hasn't read, you can just start from there.
Yeah, sure. So I got into spirituality about 20 years ago, I'd say, and was doing the usual rigmarole of, techniques every day, waiting for the next technique to come. Things get better when you do the next technique, and so on and so forth. And like I said, that went on for 20 years, and that was very deeply ingrained in me. And then I had an experience, and I'm not sure whether people would be familiar with this, but I met someone. Apparently, it was a twin flame experience. So I met this person about 2.5 years ago or so now, and the experience I had, I can only describe as like, it was like otherworldly. It was like euphoria beyond anything I've ever experienced, which wouldn't be part of my personality. I've been in relationships before, so it was a very unusual thing for me, And yeah, we had this experience. We got together really, really quickly, and every time we planned for the future and tried to actually, settle into a relationship and be together, something would happen where the energy between us would just get chaotic. Because it seemed to be a very, how can I explain this? I don't know if this will make sense, but a relationship based around energetics, and bizarre energetic experiences,
Yeah.
So it seemed to send me really big into the mind, really, really into the mind. And what happened then after a few months was, and this is apparently what happens with twin flames, is she ran, she decided, we can't do this, can't handle the energy of it, left. And I went really, really into the mind and went into they call it obsessive thinking in the twin flame world. That's what they call it. So basically, it's when your mind just gets completely like overrun by thoughts, and you cannot slow it down, can't slow it down. So I had to start learning to go into the body. So that's where my search for the non-dual thing came about, and eventually came across a course in the twin flame thing, and trying to unravel that and bring peace back into my life. And what they basically taught was non-dual. I did that for a few months, but then found you guys, found Angelo as well. First, I watched a good few of his videos, and I started really getting into it deeper and deeper. So that's how I ended up here. Now, still to this day, I don't know. Different people say a lot of different things online about what that experience was. Like, I don't know what I experienced.
No.
But it was crazy. It was like out of this world, bizarre. Just the energy of it was just madness. But it seemed to be some sort of awakening to this experience now.
Yeah.
So I've been watching some of the Fetter videos, and like I said, I just recently started on them again, and having some experiences. But I think in many ways, maybe it happened differently with me that most people, well, I don't know what way it happens with everybody, but with me, it was kind of like I had the experience of what I think was kind of a non-dual experience when I was with the person, when I was in the person's company.
Yeah.
And then went searching for it because I couldn't find that within myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I had to look up twin flames. So I didn't know what it was, and I don't obviously know if what I read was what you think it is, but I understood it as twin flames is when two souls are being split up into two people, and those two people find together. So there's a feeling of connectedness.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
I don't believe in the soul.
The soul.
Yeah, I don't believe
Right.
in a soul, because if there's no I, there's no soul. So I really don't want to be the one that pulls that rug.
No,
But I
that's
find
okay.
it difficult. I find it difficult to talk about if I don't make that clear from the beginning, that
Yeah.
if there's no I, if all this is causes and conditions, and it's brain chemistry and hormones, endocrinology, and it's basic survival mechanisms that are kicking in all the time, then that is how this meat suit is navigating the world. There's
Mm,
not a Pernille here. There's not an individual person here.
mm.
And if that is the case, obviously there can't be a soul.
I see what you're saying, yeah, because the way they described it was you had consciousness, and then
Yeah,
off of that you had souls,
yeah.
and
And
that's how they split. And that doesn't
yeah,
sound, yeah, that doesn't make
yeah,
sense to what
yeah. And
you
and
guys
and
do.
and in that, it's what we are dissolving in the eighth fetter. That, in the first fetter we talk about that there is no I, that we look into that there's no one here. In the eighth fetter we look into, but if there's no I, there can't be consciousness either. There can't be an I in a consciousness, because that still puts somebody in the center. And in like the video I posted on yesterday, where you unpin that whatever
Yes,
you perceive
yeah.
as center being, I am here in the center, and I look out that way and that way and that way. That is unpinned. And if that is unpinned, it's unpinned in everything, which means that it's also unpinned in the whole universe revolving around me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you say you don't believe in consciousness, what
I
do you,
don't believe, I don't believe in an I having a conscious experience.
okay.
So what with the way that I perceive the world, or whatever, it seems to
Yeah.
me that you have met someone that you had an amazing chemistry with, that she would say something and you would understand it even before she had finished the sentence. You would
Yeah.
exactly know what she talked about. And in my optic, the way that I understand it is that you have met somebody that has um, a similar background, a similar survival mechanism, a similar psychology and perception, similar hurdles in her life that she has perceived in the same way as you. So maybe not that
Yeah.
one-to-one childhood this experiences, but the way that the experiences was perceived was similar. Like Todd
Okay.
and I, we're very, very different. We come from very, very different backgrounds, but the way we have perceived things and the way we have managed those hurdles with our psychology has been very similar, which means that we're messy the same way because we are acting the same way, because we're similar in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, she looked up when she was looking up what twin flames were. She was reading the description. She's like it sounds like us if we believed in souls. Like
Yeah.
there's such
Yeah.
similarity to that kind of. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of our backstory, but I mean, it's very similar thing of this very brief meeting essentially, and I mean, we were married after
Yeah.
we met
2
for the
days.
first no. I mean, we were physically met for the first time in April, and we were married by the end of December. So it was like
Mm,
that sort of a thing where it has always felt from the time that we met as just like, okay, that's it. That's, this is, it didn't have that
Introduction period, and
yeah.
it didn't have any of that. We just knew one another right away. But instead of believing in a soul, because that is a belief, then it's
mm-hmm.
more looking into, okay, in the direct experience, what is it that is actually happening? And there is a similarity happening in our direct experience, that if something falls to the floor, we both react the same way. If I take my glasses and put them somewhere, I will put them exactly where Todd is going to put his glasses, which means that we're messy the same way. So
Yeah.
it's more that psychologically and survival mechanisms and everything are similar. So it just fits in a way. But obviously it's super comforting to say that, like Todd talked about before with God, that if that can be a constant, if I can be a constant, Todd can be a constant, and we have met before and we have lived lives before and we will live lives forever, that is more comfortable than looking at the glaring truth that there is no I, and I will die and so will he. I mean, so there's something that makes things scary if you need if you need somewhere to stand, because everything feels shaky. If you
kind of
need,
makes sense to me. Yeah, so like it could be like a build-up of an identity in order to
yes,
feel
to feel some kind of persistence,
yeah.
because then life feels safe. And if life in general feels unsafe, if you need in general reassurance, then meeting another person that is like a mirror, in the good way, then that is, oh, now I can relax.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
it just means that there's still work to do, because you can never be unsafe. There is no one to be unsafe. There's nothing that can happen that is uncomfortable, because that would mean that you had an expectation and had predicted something to have to happen in a certain way. That is why we feel uncomfortable. Where if we're just in that open space, whatever is occurring in front of me right now, it's fine, because it's just occurring. I have no hooks into things being in a certain way.
Yeah,
Does
that
that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah.
Which means that the woman that you felt so close with, you had an amazing experience. And in that snapshot of a moment, everything was perfect. But if you look in this snapshot of this moment right now, if you do not add any thought to it, nothing is missing. She's not missing. There's nothing
Yeah.
that needs to be different in this moment right now. It's only if you add a thought to it that things could be different and things could be better.
And that's what it's about, really. I suppose the experiences bring me back there. I know that. I know
Yes.
that. That's it, to push me into that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose what I was going to say was is it possible then for thousands of people to have that similar experience? And I know you don't know too much about it, but about these stages and runner chasage stages and all these similarities, is it possible for so many people to have that experience and for it still not to be a thing? But I suppose at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah, it
the
doesn't
thing.
matter.
Exactly. I think, you know, I came from a similar-ish background of having these various beliefs throughout my life that were very comforting and also very destabilizing in ways, alternatingly. And going through those ideas of, the soul families that reincarnate over and over together, and, all of these different beliefs that seemed very comforting.
Mm.
I think the caveat with everything, because I agree completely with everything Pernilla said, but I think the caveat for us to remember with this stuff is to not even take that and all of the neurology and the biology as a new belief that becomes our new core, where now I'm just like a hardcore materialist atheist, and that's the way that it is, and that's the truth. That locks us into yet another box.
Another belief.
And so, yes, we have patterns where, there are thousands of children who relate remembering past lives, and there are thousands of people who talk about these twin flame type stories, and there are thousands of people who have had near death experiences that are very similar, and there are thousands of people who, talk to God and angels and all of that, and thousands of people who
Yeah.
do demonology, and like there are thousands of people who believe pretty much everything that is cognitively believable, right? Like it's not to say that there aren't experiences that are real, but the definition of those experiences, where we start to lock into, I know why the world works the way it does. I know why our experience is the way it is and your experience is the way it is, and all that, because I have created this definition now. That's a problem. In terms of this stuff, it can be very comforting if you want to, like, really live your life from that place all the time for the rest of your life, that might be okay, right? But like Pernilla was saying, the issue is that if we have any sort of crack in that foundation of belief, then all of a sudden we are thrown into, you know, the despair, existential crisis of.
But where you have good, you have bad. So it's a duality, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So if you really want to get down to just the bare bones of experience, where you can just be content without knowing any of this thing for sure, without having a clear definition, then all of the biology and all that is a great antidote to the metaphysical, but it's not a place to land either.
No.
You know,
no, nothing I said was true.
Yeah.
Nothing I said was true. It can't be, because I don't know everything. I can say what makes sense right now, but I could be also wrong. Twin souls could be a thing. I just don't know. We don't know that. And what we are pointing to is to really become aware of how much is a belief, how much is a thought, and how much do you actually know right now with your direct experience, where there's no thought involved at all, where it's just what is alive in this moment right now. What do you actually know? Because that's the only thing we can lean on. It's the only thing that can be objective without any kind of subjective, filter over or belief or anything like that. And it's not to say, like Todd also said, it's not to say that there's something wrong with any beliefs. I mean, more power to anybody that has any beliefs, but it's just to become aware that if there is a crack, that can be a crater to fall into.
There's always cracks.
Yeah.
Always. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Now that's helped a lot, actually.
Good.
Actually, that's brought me to a conclusion that I hadn't been before, because it's made me realize that the non-duality is the answer. Do you know what? I can't even put it into words what I'm trying to say.
No.
As always. But
it's a medicine. It's an antidote without being a place that you like. In Buddhism, there's the idea of the raft that you use to cross the river, and then you let it go. You don't hold on being a Buddhist for the rest of your life. It's just a tool that you use. It's an antidote to cure what was there. So that's why we say, if you have like a belief in a self that is really strong, we use no self as the antidote to counteract that belief. But then we don't hold on to no self as being the new belief. That also has to be let go of. Same with non-duality. We have this idea in a duality of me versus you and us and them and all of that. This is an antidote to breaking that down so that we no longer have these dichotomies that we live out of. But then it's not a place where we then get locked into oneness with everything.
Yeah, you can't live there. The moment you have used the raft to cross the river, leave the raft. So you use the non-duality to become aware of that there is no I. But the moment that has happened, then leave non-duality, leave that raft, and just stay with your direct experience right now. Because otherwise that is just another belief and another thing you will die on a hill for, and you're back to square one.
Yeah. And do you guys find that you can stay there, that the longer you go on, you can stay there longer?
There is nothing else. That's the whole point, that the moment you have really seen through it, that there's nothing else, that it's nowhere to stay, because there's no one staying anywhere.
Yeah, I get
It's like asking, so does that mean that you are alive right now, or are you not? Well, I was the moment you asked. Right now, I assume I am as well. It's like, it's something that's there all the time. It's never not there.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can't hold on to it. The moment you hold on to it, it becomes something else. And it's what we talk a lot about in the higher fetters, that you can have those experiences of immense beauty and immense expansion, but the moment you put a word to it to explain what it was you experienced, it's not what you experienced. It's words describing what you experienced, which means that you have just minimized it. It's not that.
And also, I think
you're really piling on here. Go on.
And also, it's not about being in a particular perceptual state all the time or having a particular experience all the time. We talk about like sixth fetter where things get flat and two-dimensional and close up, but it doesn't mean that you're going to live the rest of your life in a flat two-dimensional field, or that the experience of oneness that happens with the eighth fetter where, you know, everything is just connected and is just I am everything. That's not a place to stay where you are just like that the rest of your life and you're just this, you know, floating ethereal cloud of nothingness. Like the experiences that have always been there can be there, but they're no longer being made into what they once were because the beliefs and the perceptual filters that were making them into something that they weren't are just no longer operational like they were. So you still have a body, or a body still exists, right? In that way, there's still basic needs. You still go to the doctor and dentist and eat and poop and all that stuff, right? Like that's still happening. The experience of sensations in the body that we once took to be certain emotions and that we once took to be like the hallmark of this is me in the body, those sensations are still there. They just no longer equate to the definition of like this is depression, this is anxiety, this is me being contracted into this body. You just recognize they're just physical sensations. The interpretation is no longer there. You can still have fluctuations of mood where the body still feels heavy one day and super light and ebullient another day, but it's not taken to mean something more than it is. It's not, this is me being depressed and I've got to do something to get myself out of it, or I'm really happy today because I've had this great time. It's just, this is the rising and falling of a body moving through space, interacting with the world.
And also it's much shorter because there is just this snapshot and this snapshot and this snapshot. There's not like that weaving everything together and creating a meaning with things, because that is based on beliefs.
Okay.
So everything is effectively still experienceable and
same.
possible and the same. We're just the interpretation of it that was once there is not.
It's not there yet.
And that changes the overall experience of it in that way. That's why when you hear people say, you know, it's life the way that it always was, but different.
Completely different. Yeah.
It's that the difference is just that sort of interpretational filter of it that no longer makes it into something that causes suffering and struggle and turbulence and all of that. It's just this arising, passing phenomenon.
Okay. Thank you. That was really helpful.
Good.
Really
so good to meet you.
Yeah.
You too, guys.
Yeah.
You too.
Hope to see you next time.
I'm happy you jumped on right away and came to talk about it. Yeah.
And
so
then,
much easier than writing.
Yeah, it was my settings, by the way. It wasn't your fault.
Okay, amazing. Glad we got it sorted too. All right. Good seeing you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.